Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to your Michigan Compass. Today, we're back over at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan, and we're going to do part 2 of our tour of the Henry Ford Museum. Today, we're going to cover all of the automation, machines, and some of the first aircraft and various planes of the past. So come along with us for this fun adventure. This first machine that you saw me talking in just a moment ago is a model of the 1882 Pearl Street Power Station. And here it is. It's one of the first power stations around, creating electricity using steam. Well, not to be confused with an arc reactor, this is an electric arc lamp and generator, and it says about 1880. Over here we have electric chandelier and generator around 1880 as well. Now here's the generator, and if you're curious to see what the chandelier looked like, it's right overhead. And right here we have a model of an electric turbine that was manufactured by General Electric, and this was used in the Rouge powerhouse for Ford Motor Company. It's a 1/16th model, it says. Going back a little bit earlier to around 1810, this is a steam engine and boiler. It's a little model. We have some older things over in this area. This item's called a spinning jenny, and it allowed you to spin 32 pieces of yarn at once. And there it is. Also over here we have a lathe from about 1804. It says it can make extremely precise lead screws for lathes and other machinery. So a lathe that makes more lathes. There it is. And over here we have a Watt Rotative steam engine from 1788. It's a full-scale replica, and it says it's the first practical factory steam engine. And this thing kind of looks intimidating. It's very medieval torture room looking. The big, dark wooden beams, and that giant wheel with the teeth on it. And it goes way down into the ground over here. You can see the gears here. And prior to all of these steam engines and whatnot, we used water and wind power, which oddly enough we're going back to these days. This says it's from 1800 to 1910. And of course, what else would it be but a windmill? And the windmill would come down here, and it's not actually working, but it would turn these gears, which are connected to a belt, and drive some type of machinery. Over here we have a water wheel from 1977. This is much like you might have seen on a mill where the stream is running through, and those little buckets on the, I guess on the outside of the wheel there, would fill with water and cause it to weight down on one side and turn and empty out. And the empty ones would come back up on the other side. Over here we have a stationary steam engine from about 1855. This one is pretty big, but it's quite a bit different than that archaic, medieval looking thing we saw earlier with the big wooden beams. This one kind of looks like church windows. Very, very decorative. From around 1859, this one's quite a bit bigger than some of the others. In fact, this giant flywheel, I would say it's at least 3 feet wide and a minimum of 2 stories. I would say from the center out, we're looking at maybe 12 to 15 feet. Just imagine the vibration in the building with this thing spinning really fast and half of it being underground. Over here we have a good example of one steam-powered engine that drives multiple machines. Pretty ingenious. Over here, we've got a piece from 1791, and apparently this was a pirated copy. They copied the design of another creator, another inventor, and came up with this monstrosity. Must have worked well if they stole the design for it. This metal looks like it's all maybe cast iron. Very heavy, pitted. And it goes way down, just like the others. Over here, another very medieval looking machine. This one, the new Komen Engine from around 1760. And this thing is a monstrosity. It kind of goes all over the place here. Very tall. And then over here we have this particular housing here that looks like a castle. Comes out this way. Got some chains. And this dumps down into this reservoir. And I'm assuming this crazy looking thing over here was the boiler, the steam area where it created the steam. And if you look down here, there's a little place to shovel some coal or some firewood or whatever to heat that water up inside there. To create the steam would go up and over to this device. Looks like it would maybe drive this piston right here up and down and push that large curved piece up and down, creating energy or motion to drive machines or whatever else they had in mind. Back here, another machine very similar to this, a little bit smaller scale than this last one. If you thought that last one that I filmed with the chain was big, you haven't seen anything yet. This one is ridiculous. Probably 30 to 35 feet tall from the ground to that top railing up there. And then coming down here and then into the ground. Quite a ways. And this is just one side of it. So let's take a walk around. Over here, looks like we've got the boiler tank. And there's where you'd feed the coal. over here, looking at the other side, we see the giant chamber powered by steam. There's that piston right there. And that piston is absolutely huge. It's probably 3.5 to 4 feet wide inside there. This, by the way, is a Watt Canal pumping engine from 1796. And we have yet another one over here, and we're working our way towards the more modern day equivalent of these energy producing machines. You ever looked up and seen these before and wondered, how does that power get to these poles and then to my house? Well, it comes from one of those. Over here we have a turbine. And we can't quite see into the dark, but there is some light inside here. And that would turn that big wheel, creating electricity. Now this particular electric turbine is from the Highland Park plant engine. It's their generator. It was built in 1912, and looks like it was a 4,000 kilowatt, 250 volt DC, manufactured by Crocker Wheeler Electric Motor Company in New Jersey. Now, before we go upstairs and take a look, I just wanted to point out the massive scale of this giant electric turbine. Yes, it's 2 stories. And to be honest with you, I have no idea how it all works. To think that somebody had the ingenuity to build this and create power is pretty amazing. We're now upstairs, and it is amazingly big and would probably need a small warehouse to fit this inside. This says combination gas steam engine, built by the Hooven Owens Rentschler Company in Ohio for Ford Motor Company. Look at the flywheel on this one. And of course, attached to that giant wheel next to it on the right there, that produces electricity. Various gauges here, probably to monitor pressure. And over here, some controls, probably to adjust that pressure. This one says number 11 and the other one was 12. As you guys can see, The Henry Ford Museum is massive. There's so much to see here. This is why I divided this into 3 separate videos so that we could cover each one and still provide just a little bit of detail for each section of the museum. One of the employees was kind enough to point something out to me, and I wanted to share it with you. Over here, you'll see that there's a glass vial, and we're going to zoom in just a little bit so you guys can read this. Thomas Edison was Henry Ford's hero, as well as his friend. During Edison's final illness, this test tube was close enough to his bedside. Upon his death, it was sealed with paraffin wax. Edison's son later sent his father's last breath to Henry Ford, knowing their close relationship. How cool is that? Over the years, light bulbs have evolved quite a bit. But did you know how they were made? This machine actually makes light bulbs. The glass would be cast, and the light bulb would travel right down that line, and then those bulbs would go over here. They'd stack them up here. Here's a demonstration of the machine running.
Before a ribbon machine, most usually that lamp bulbs were blown by hand, and 2 men working together produced about 1,400 in an 8-hour shift. And then all of a sudden, with a ribbon machine, they could produce 300 to 500 bulbs per minute. And so this was a remarkable engineering feat.
You can also find several display cases over in this area that include historical firearms from throughout the years, including rifles, shotguns, handguns, and accessories. In the interest of time, I decided not to include this in today's video, but be sure to check it out if you're there.
All right, guys, well, if you remember the last time we were here, we decided against getting this one, but this is the one my daughter wants today, so we're gonna go for it. She's the one who usually gets these, by the way. All right, the card has been swiped, and now we just wait. There it goes. The mold is closing up. Sounds like it's filling up right now. And here it comes. Right down there. And there it is. It's a Wienermobile. Perfect. All right, now it's time to switch things up. We're gonna go check out some airplanes. You may recall seeing this plane in the intro of the last video. This is from Northwest Airlines. So this particular plane is a Douglas DC-3. It was first flown in 1935. Here's an interior view of the plane. And it's right here above me. Over here, we have a model of the Wright brothers plane. This is not the original. I believe the original is in the Smithsonian Institute. And according to this, first flight was December 17th, 1903.
Amelia Earhart is missing. We interrupt this regularly scheduled broadcast for a special news bulletin. This is Roger Allen reporting for WWJ Radio 950. July 5th, 1937, and Amelia Earhart is missing. Somewhere in the Pacific, faint radio signals from her airplane were heard. But several days have passed since a trace of the daring pilot or her navigator, Fred Noonan, has been seen or heard.
One additional thing that people love to do with airplanes was race them. For years, we'd been racing cars. Why not planes, right? Check out that retracting wheel, it's pretty neat. No, those are not a pair of surfboards. What they actually are is landing gear for a snowplane.
Incredibly difficult Q&A. And our wing walker dared to stand on the top of the wing the whole time. Surely such daring has rarely been seen among our friends here at the fair.
Just in case you've ever wanted to stand outside an airplane or stand on the wing of an airplane and fly around through the clouds. Over here, there's a simulator where you can try it out. Let's go stand on the wing of an airplane.
Aviation area also includes an upper level where you can get a unique perspective on all of these amazing aircraft.
This one's quite interesting. Is it an airplane or is it a helicopter? I don't know, but I do know it sported the Detroit News logo right on the side. This little display case shows various pins that were given out over the years from different airlines. Now, you may or may not have been on an airline in the past 15 to 20 years, but I do recall getting these as a kid from various airlines. And believe it or not, Delta still gives these out to kids because my daughter got one on a flight about 3 years ago. Now over here we've got a plane that's called the Tin Goose. It's made by Ford. And you may recall we've seen this plane in the past. Over at the Air Zoo, we saw this plane about a year and a half, 2 years ago in one of our first trips out to the Air Zoo. Over here we have a 1927 Boeing 40 B-2 airplane. And over here is the back of that Ford tri-motor airplane. You notice that the wings and tail are all aluminum. The whole aircraft, in fact, was aluminum. Over here, we have a 1926 Ford Fliver or Fliver, F-L-I-V-V-E-R, known as the Model T of the sky. Imagine if we all had one of these in our driveway. Or should I say, runway. Well, unfortunately, the dining car is still closed. Hopefully that'll open up sometime soon in the future. I'd really like to try that out. But one thing I did want to point out, if you recall, we ate at the Plum Market Kitchen last time, and they now feature online ordering. So if you'd like to see what type of food they have here, you can scan that QR code with your phone. Should be able to pull up a menu and see what they have. Well guys, that's going to do it for our part 2 trip out to the Henry Ford Museum. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, remember to give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to click on that compass so you can stay tuned for future videos just like this one. And remember, adventure is only a short drive away.